she gets jump scared by everything.
Everything?
And like
it's going to be entertaining to watch,
She was
though.
jump scared by the James Bond movie, okay?
It's going to be entertaining to watch that, though. Like, to see her react to literally everything.
I'm just like, there, like...
Does her, but
like,
see, does her jump scare, like, not jump scare you sometimes? Because
no,
like, domino reactions.
I was saying, like, movies don't really jump scare me a whole
lot.
lot. Video games will jump scare me. I was saying that I played through Resident Evil 8 on different settings like 3 times, and I knew what was coming. I'm like, then you're playing, and I'm like, I know it's coming. I'm like, fuck, damn it.
The biggest one for me was Doom. I think it was Doom 3, and it was kind of it
had some jump scares.
It was graphically amazing, but it was also because the game didn't figure out in space and the technological future to be able to equip a fucking flashlight to a gun.
Oh yeah, and
so you either
had 5 seconds.
So you either had a flashlight to look where you're going, or you had your gun out, but not the same thing. So you couldn't just like shoot a monster as you're looking at it. Like it was a pretty terrifying game, especially when I had a 5.1 surround setup playing that. That was one of the most. I think it's still better than. Like, in terms of being scary, like, the new Dooms aren't.
The new ones are action games.
They're just action games.
You're the scary thing in the new games.
Yeah, you're trapped in here with me.
The demons are pissing themselves over you in those games.
Yeah, but the original one, like, it was legit, I think.
I remember it.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing I want to say about Antichrist is that early in the movie, you see some dong.
I love seeing dong first thing in the morning.
Oh, that sucks.
Movie.
So my favorite fact about the movie is Willem Dafoe's the main character.
Willem Dafoe has a huge dong, I heard.
Yeah, and that you know that fact because of this movie. Because the dong in it is not his
It's
dick.
not his. They had to bring in someone else because his was so comically large no one would believe it.
Really?
That's real. They had a stand-in dong.
So you know the fact about this
I know
movie.
the fact about it because I read it, right? So Reddit will always teach you
Well,
these things.
that's this movie.
But I heard that he has such a comic large penis, they would think that it was like a fake or a prosthetic or a dildo or something.
Yeah.
So they brought in a
They had a
stand-in
dong
dick guy.
double because his dick was too big.
It's my favorite fact about any movie ever. So it's that one. It's this
So this
movie.
is the movie where you see the dick that's
So
not
I'm not.
Willem
So I
Dafoe.
actually kind of want to see
So
Willem
when
Dafoe's
you-
dick
when
now.
you-
I want to see the dick
I'm
that's too
always
big
like,
to believe.
that's why. I'm like, hey everybody, that's why Willem Dafoe's dick is in my search history. Just letting you know that's
Did you
why
find
it's
it?
in there. No, I didn't find it.
God damn! I want to know whose dick is so. I want to see.
Just know when you
That
see the
has a
dick on the
double.
screen, you're like, well, his dick's bigger than that.
Like now see.
you know what to compare
Now,
it against.
if they filmed me, I would understand why they would need a dick double because they would be like, "That's too small to be a dick."
They get those fake ones in people sometimes. So yeah, this is the Willem Dafoe dick double movie.
I love it. I'm there for it. All right, you're listening to Apostates on the Fringe, a leftist atheist podcast sponsored by the Atheist Society of Knoxville. We're your hosts. I'm Dustin.
Alistair.
And I'm Sam.
Sam has some rockin' ass black cat socks on the
Everyone needs a pair of cat socks.
on the table with the mixer. They're going to distract me the whole time.
I have to lounge out when I'm drinking my fabulous Elysian Night Owl beer. It's a pumpkin ale.
I thought you said you were done with pumpkin ale.
I had already gotten this. This has been here for like 2 weeks.
You raided the fridge.
It
of
wasn't even
leftover beer.
October when I put this in your fridge.
My fridge has been filled with y'all's beer for like the longest fucking time. Y'all seem to
I
start
have a
clearing
nice
that
little
shit out.
variety in there right
You do
now.
have you a little grocery store full of variety of beer, like taking up 1.5 shelves of my real estate space on my refrigerator. So
We're queuing it up for movie night.
you know what, that'll be a good time to empty it up.
Yeah, cue Willem Dafoe's penis segment.
Right.
I'll probably bring more for movie night.
So I didn't get a beer today, and that was not because I just forgot. It's because I ate kind of heavily for lunch, and like the beer I tend to get is high in calorie, and I'm not trying to be too much of a fat ass. Like I know I'm a fat ass, but like if I can rein it in sometimes, and so I made a conscious decision today, just like, you know what, I'll stick with the vodka seltzer. It's much lower in calorie, and it does the job. So that's why I have the tangerine mango with vodka. It's a really nice seltzer. It's a light and refreshing. I love it every time.
Tangerine mango?
Tangerine mango, this shit's fire.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Everyone I've let try like this become like one of the newest favorite seltzers. Like it is far better than any like seltzer they try to put out, like Bud Light seltzer, or what's the other shitty one, that the White Claw, things like that. I never really dug those because they didn't taste as sweet as they make these waters, these flavored waters. So it's a lot better.
My problem is they're too sweet, but
the Trulies, things like that.
Or I mean, some of them are okay. Some of them make me feel like I'm gonna get a sugar headache more before I get drunk.
None of the seltzers I look at though are like all the low carb ones, like 1 or 2, so they're not really sugary, but they're not.
Yeah, they're not.
I'm not a fan of them as much as I am these. What do you have? You still have the Founders from last week?
Yeah, I'm drinking that breakfast stout again.
You had so much others to choose from in there.
I know, but I had more of the breakfast stout, and I don't want to switch beers. The other ones, well, Sam's drinking one of mine later, and I think the other ones are just singles. So
you have that the Wiseacre, the Beach, whatever. It's kind of a lighter.
Oh, those are still in there.
Those are still in there.
Okay.
So next time, horror movie night, you can drill those. So do you have an update for us? So before we get into our main segment, we have a Knox County update.
So we left off last week. The school board had filed a motion to they wanted a case-by-case approval for medical exemption, and they wanted to drop the mask mandate completely. And the parents who were suing, they responded with a motion agreeing to the case-by-case approval. Well, the judge ruled on that Tuesday. And, man, he does not hold back.
I really enjoy reading his orders.
Every one of them I have thoroughly enjoyed.
I'm gonna quote one here. This is the quote. When I read the order, this stood out to me as like him really like don't fuck around with this. This is not a optional fuck around thing. Like, so I'm gonna read this. The court reminds the Knox County Board of Education that its school system is no longer under a voluntary mask mandate. Rather, it is under a court-ordered mask mandate. The record evidence supports the need for, and court-ordered, a universal mask mandate, and the court fully expects its mask mandate to be exactly that, universal to every possible extent with very few medical exemptions. If the Knox County Board of Education does not comply in good faith with this order, the court may impose considerable sanctions against it for civil contempt. Well fucking done. I mean, He's not fucking around. He did the first time. And you had another section that I think...
So one of the things that the Board of Education was trying to claim is that there was a manifest injustice with the judge only imposing an exemption for autism and a tracheotomy.
Right.
And the judge responded, the court would be more sympathetic to the Knox County Board of Education's argument if not for the fact that it had every occasion, both before and during the preliminary injunction hearing, to argue in the alternative as to what a mask mandate with exemptions ought to look like if the court elected to put one in place, which it ultimately did. But the Knox County Board of Education presented no such argument or evidence. Yet it now blames the court instead of itself for its own lack of foresight. It cries of manifest injustice, or its cry of manifest injustice is therefore at best meritless and at worst disingenuous.
That is just, I mean, that's also the parents too blaming the courts rather than the inaction of the school board. But I think they also started. I think a few recognized that it was the school board's actions that led to this.
Very
by and
few.
Large,
but there are some that are blaming the school board.
They don't I mean, like, that's one of those things that would hurt them if they could read. They don't know what the fuck's going on. they don't know who to blame.
It's funny being in their groups because there are like maybe a handful out of hundreds that understand exactly what's going on, can read these legal papers, which I love reading. Court documents are one of my favorite things to read for some reason. But some people can't read them. Like it's legalese. They're kind of hard to interpret for some people. So most of the people in those groups aren't even reading it.
I want to do a caveat to that though, because there are some court orders that are full of legalese, and but everything I've read from this guy is a layman can read pretty well.
Except for the fact that there's a lot of paragraphs that cite court case, and
sure.
that's where people get confused.
Okay.
Because they don't know punctuation.
And these are the people that are homeschooling their kids.
Yes, they are. The group
Raising their little morons to be little morons.
That's exactly what's
just
going on.
as racist and stupid as they are.
It's so funny because just quite tangent, but the group is largely now just homeschooling a group now, right?
It is. You scroll through the group and it's a bunch of people. I was impressed to see somebody looking for secular homeschooling options.
I saw that too.
And there was actually serious conversation with people chiming in, and it's like, this is what we're doing.
I was a little butthurt that there wasn't like anger from them because I expected this group that.
I almost.
They're the other side of the the leftist, like, I don't put that shit into my bodies type people, probably, right?
Yeah, if I was in there under another name, I probably would have chimed in and been like, "What do you mean secular homeschool?"
Just to stoke the fire.
Yeah, just to
because all it took was one. But everyone's just so like. The camaraderie of anti-mask, so they didn't even jump on that secular thing at all.
Some of the people, their reasoning for wanting to do secular homeschooling is because they eventually want to put their kids back in school, and they don't want them to fall too far behind. They understand that going for those religious curriculum leave out a good part of science, history, and other things. So they're like, we want secular.
Morons.
Yeah.
So
But there's
perpetuate the cycle of moron.
I mean, that's what they're.
Republican.
That's what these groups are already
Moron
doing.
synonymous with Republican. Perpetuate Republican voters by keeping your kids stupid as fuck and religious.
But there's
just like you.
There's still people in this group. I saw bus drivers saying that they weren't going to wear a mask.
Well, I hope they fucking bite it. Jesus Christ.
See a teacher bragging about how her school has a mask-free learning option. And saying that she's complying. I was like, or that the school is complying. I'm like, that's not universal masking with few exception if you offer a no mask learning option. So, and all those, like, I don't even understand why these people are still like talking as openly as they can in their groups, because they know people are watching it. They know half of the shit they're saying is being sent to the lawyers. The judge is going to see it.
But so back to the actual order. So now he's added some medical exemptions but they have to have a doctor. Not what was the thing? The 501 or 504? What was that about?
So the 504 or an IEP, they address a child's disabilities and how the school needs to handle those disabilities or address those disabilities, whether it's a behavioral issue, emotional.
Who issues
learning.
or approves those, though?
It's usually there's a team involved. You have, like, the school principal is there. Like, the school therapist is often there. There's usually some kind of advocate who, like an IEP advocate or something like that, who deals with them regularly and helps that. The parents are there. So it's a team effort. There's a whole process to be able to get a 504 IEP. It's not something that anybody can just like write something up. It's like, you're going to deal with this. No, there's a whole team of people that have to approve that.
Now, if they had those last year, those are still, do those still?
Those, if they were exempt from a mask due to their disability last year, which was all based on their 504 IEP, then they still have the mask exemption this year.
I heard that it's not automatic, though, that they still have to have something from a doctor.
No, the things that I was reading, that is, like, if you had it last year, it's automatic this year. If you want a new one, that's when you need a doctor's note and you have to go through.
But these parents can just go to a doctor and say, my child has anxiety, give them a
No,
mask.
it has to be, it has to be a documented medical condition that they already had. And a doctor has to be willing to say that your kid cannot wear a mask. So.
And do we know of any doctors right now who are Nurse Debbie type people who would be willing to do
doctors? I do not know. A lot of the doctors in Knoxville have been flat out telling people, we will not write you a medical exemption.
Unless warranted, obviously.
Right.
Okay.
In fact, one of them was brought up in the judge's order where he said there's a large doctor's office that has said they will not give any medical. And I don't believe that. I believe that they had an influx of anti-maskers coming in there and wanting their little Timmies to have a mask exemption. And the doctors were like, no, we're not giving your kids mask exemptions. But I think if there's an actual medical condition preventing a kid from wearing a mask, the doctors are going to write them a doctor's note.
So this, because they've been clamoring for more exemptions, but this isn't the answer that these parents were looking for. And now I'm seeing that some are. There was a post today. Has anyone tried suing the judge?
They're so ridiculous. They want to.
Sam.
They know more about the law than the judge. Show him.
They do. They've been coming up with all these like ridiculous. Well, for one, discrimination. They want to sue for discrimination
Because of the segregation,
yes.
Obviously.
Which is no longer
They
going to
discriminate
happen.
against morons. I'm sorry, intellectually disabled person.
The isolation rooms are no more.
They're just sending them home. They're just telling them to come pick up, right?
Our superintendent sent out an email yesterday, and it was very clear. If you drop your kid off without a mask, you will be taking them right back home. If your kid is dropped off by the bus, they'll be in the office until you come pick them up. And they're marked tardy. It's before, like the past 2 weeks of school. Our schools are currently on fall break, so the last 2 weeks. If they showed up at school without a mask, they were marked present for the day and absent in the classes. So they didn't face any truancy.
Now they will begin to face truancy.
Now these parents risk truancy if they send their kids without a mask.
And that was done yesterday. So during fall break. So we're probably going to see some chatter build up starting Saturday and Sunday as.
I don't think it'll be near as much as it was when the order was first placed, because so many parents have already pulled their kids out of school, or they've decided that's what they're going to do. Once those parents pull those kids out of school, really the sad thing is they're going to be pushing for vouchers in the state of Tennessee. Which would not be good. It'll strip this public schools of funding.
Right.
Tennessee loves vouchers because we're a libertarian state owned by libertarians.
We don't. Knox County does not allow vouchers yet.
They want to, though.
They're wanting to. Like Tennessee's
it will happen
wanting
eventually.
To.
Every battle is lost in Tennessee. We are the cesspool of stupid and libertarian values.
That's what they're going to be focused on. Is they're gonna be focused on getting vouchers in place, which means they're gonna be paying less attention to the actual school board.
The evil
probably.
libertarian pieces of shit that run our government are just going to use all these issues as a tool to focus these idiots' rage into.
Jason Zachary, he's one of the Knox County representatives. He's one already brought up school choice a few times.
Speaking of, votes are coming up.
Early voting.
Know who to vote for?
Early voting is already open.
Oh, is it okay?
Yep. It opened yesterday, so
we need to tell our local viewers who to vote for and how important it is, because we talk about this shit
we're
all the time.
We're a 501c3. We're sponsored by a 501c3.
We cannot do that.
They gave us. Well, I can tell you who not to vote for. So
we cannot advocate for a candidate.
You know, the weirdest part is we're sponsored.
How sponsored by Ask are we?
Yeah,
like we're not really. Like, how much money is down on this? It's not anymore. Like
they still pay for the hosting.
Okay.
Of the website, the podcast is files, obviously the equipment.
Okay, so who are we not voting for? We're not voting for
Kim
Elizabeth.
Smith, Elizabeth
Do not
Murray.
vote for Elizabeth Murphy.
Nick Caprio.
I don't think being sponsored by a 501c3 means that we have to follow those rules.
Jim, I run a cult, Kappa something.
No, don't miss Elizabeth Murphy. I drink my piss.
We
Did
said
you say
Miss Murphy.
Oh, okay.
Kim Smith, Murphy. Is
Nick
Jim.
Saparo? Is Nick Saparo? He's the
Nick,
other guy?
that's his name. Sapiro.
He's your friendly piece of shit who like tries to be your friend, but like will do cocaine.
He's in
with.
my district. He's running for my district.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy that will do cocaine with you and then talk about libertarianism the whole time.
If you live in Knox County, this is how you can tell who not to vote for. Look at the big ass fucking campaign signs posted up in public property.
The easiest way
because those are all their signs.
No. So I found the easiest way is they tend to stick because they buy multiple because they stick together, kind of like the other side does too. And I don't even know half the names, but as soon as I see one that like has Elizabeth Murphy right in the middle, I'm like, okay, that whole line.
Yes,
that whole line.
That's exactly what it is.
It's
but
a
you'll
really
see,
easy barometer.
But like you go by my house on Middlebrook. There's several spots along Middlebrook that are like that. They have these they're like 2-3 feet high, 4 feet wide, probably. Big ass fucking signs. And fucking Kim Smith's pissed me off because it's that fucking ugly pink and just fucking block Kim Smith in big letters. And they're so hideous. I don't know why they annoy me as much as they do.
Well, I'm not a huge fan of all of the ones I'm going to be voting for anyways. Seema Singh let me down when they voted for the stadium.
Oh, yeah. Randy Boyd's money laundering stadium. You have to say its full name.
Right. Randy Boyd's money laundering stadium, which I looked it up on the map. That's not a huge space for a stadium.
Yeah, it's going to be fucking stupid.
Oh, no. Like, it's going to completely fuck parking down there.
I don't care how much you like football. Go fuck yourself.
Baseball. That's
I don't care how much you love sports ball.
No one
fuck all
wants
sports
it.
ball.
And you know what? This is how you know it's a money laundering scheme, because every time I see an article, even on fucking dumbass Republican controlled WBIR comments, no one there fucking wants it. Nobody cares
wants
for it.
Well, it's not even 45 minutes away, is it? The fucking Smoky Stadium?
It's the Smoky
That's
Stadium.
the one they're
Why the fuck do we need a stadium here in Knoxville?
Boyd's money laundering stadium.
If anybody wants to go fucking watch baseball, 45 minutes is nothing to fucking go drive.
They think it's gonna drive so much more people downtown. Do you have any idea how the people that run this state are the stupidest motherfuckers in the fucking world.
It's true.
Tennessee is so poorly designed. Like, not even just, I would say Knoxville, but Nashville has some of the worst traffic in the country. In the whole fucking country. Like, LA doesn't have as bad a traffic as Nashville. When's the last time you went down to Nashville?
Nashville's fucking traffic is horrid.
Yeah,
but I legit looked at the proposal, and I kind of did a side by side with a Google map of where it's at. And I'm like, how the fuck are you gonna fit that there and expect to have parking anywhere near this?
There's no parking. There's not going to be any fucking parking.
It's a jerk off to all of the business companies. It's a jerk off to the construction companies. It's a jerk off to Randy Boyd. It's a big Randy Boyd money laundering.
Oh, by the way,
scheme.
the price has increased. By the way,
yeah, and they never figured out a way. There has been no one that has said how that thing is going to make a profit. It is going to be a drain on this fucking city.
They can't even fucking fill it because there's no parking nearby.
Mm-mm. There's not. And I looked at the proposal where putting there's not, unless I'm missing something.
There's parking under that bridge by Barley's, but that's not enough to accommodate a fucking stadium.
That already gets filled. On
that's what I'm saying. That's
now
not
we're going to become
enough.
one of those Chicago $5 to park any fucking where you go cities. Yep. That's what they're trying to turn it into.
Erase
so they
all
want
the free parking spaces. That's going to go away.
They want to turn it's a libertarian run state, and as with the next story, we're going to get into. Tennessee is being overrun with the stupidest motherfuckers. It's only going to get worse here.
I'll queue up that story.
I hate this fucking place more and more by the fucking day. It is not going to get better. Tennessee is going to get a lot worse.
So several years ago, I came across a church run by the Moons that hold a marriage ceremony every year. That's like a group, like you renew your vows. And I think I saw it the first time after the Parkland, Florida. Is that where it was? Parkland?
I think if it's the same one I saw, like they were literally like blessing a bunch of firearms.
They hold AR-15s during these ceremonies. The whole church, like the leader of the church, wears a crown of bullets. But I'm pretty sure I first saw them after the Parkland shooting. It was like a week or so afterwards that they held this ceremony, and it was like a huge fucking deal because of what just happened. But yeah, so where are they buying their new property?
It's going to be here in Tennessee. They've purchased a 130-acre property on a mountain in eastern Tennessee to serve as a training center.
Granger County, right?
It's something like that. And holy ground for its devoted gun-toting followers.
These sons of bitches are moving here. All of them. All of these people are moving here because we're supposed to be a Republican paradise.
We are a Republican paradise.
You know what? It wasn't. We see it wasn't as bad before they started all moving here. It's getting worse because they're all moving here. Because I see it in the anti-masker groups, how many of those assholes are like, we moved here from California, New York, all these other places because we thought it was better here. And you guys are making it fucking worse.
So this is a spin-off from the main one, right? This is his son who's kind of branching away and kind of doing his own thing here.
So the original church was the Unification Church, I believe, and
the Unification Church. This one's the Rod of Iron Ministries.
Yes, and like the original, it's the Moon family. The father died, and the mother and son had a argument over the church or something. So he branched off and formed his own church, and he got a lot of the followers out of the Unification Church by saying you can bring your AR to church. We're going to worship with our guns.
So there's this article that we came across. It's from Vice.com, and it's a pretty lengthy article going into the details of the Unification Church and now this one. And there's some batshit insane things that this church and the spinoff do.
It's a cult.
Absolutely cool. I'm going to butcher this name, but every year, tens of thousands of members make a pilgrimage to Cheongpyeong, where they shell out huge amounts of cash and submit to beatings with the goal of exorcising evil spirits, also known as ancestor liberation, through a process called Ansu. Now, they're kind of bringing that same thing along to the Rod of Iron Ministries, but they're removing the whole beating part and just adding a price tag to it. The funniest thing I saw...
I think there always was a price tag.
I know, it was huge amounts of cash. I think they just removed the beating. There's still the music and the pageantry that goes along with it. But the funniest part is that... So anyone who wants to undergo an ancestor liberation by Moon must fill out a form that's available on the church's website. On the form, members are asked to stipulate how many generations of ancestors they'd like to liberate. 1 to 70 generations, 70 to 140, and 140 to 210 generations. So under the original church, members were required to pay a specific amount for every generation they hope to liberate. And his form has a donation section where
Boy,
you can choose.
I have a question about that. What if you and your brother joined the church, and he pays to liberate your ancestors? Would you not have to pay then because he already you have the same
shouldn't have to.
ancestors?
You have the same
Right.
ancestors.
But so we can piggyback. So he can do the first 70, I can do the next.
There we go.
The next 70. And no,
But wait, if you both pay for 70, do they just bless the first 70s?
You know, probably because the whole goal is to extrapolate as much cash
Yep.
from their members as possible.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely insane. So apparently the property is sold for $460,000. It currently just has 2 buildings, which is a barn and a small residence. But it's pretty close to Knoxville, Sevierville. So yeah, they're moving in. And we're going to have their fuckery soon.
I can't wait until they decide to shoot up a bunch of liberals, i.e. us.
How is this different than, like, Martin Luther, his issue with the church was them selling indulgences. Isn't this the same fucking thing?
It's always been the same thing.
Yeah,
It's never stopped from them begging on TV either.
Yeah, they're obviously super right, but I think the goal is just that he wanted to make more money than this is another way for him to do it, I guess.
I mean, he is. He's going to fucking make money off of this because people are fucking stupid.
And I can just now see the number of, like, fucking gun-clenching Republicans just, like, seething at the teeth, waiting to be able to go to these training grounds with their AR-15s and praise the Lord while they're doing it.
They'll come. The issue is they'll come from all over the place.
Oh yeah, but they're going to draw a large population because it's not to a lot of Tennesseans. It's not even going to be about the religion. It's going to be about I can have my worship with my AR-15 around.
It's not even the Tennesseans. There will be the religious aspect. I think the people that'll come to this are going to be fucking brainwashed religious nuts. They're for the blessing. I really do think that because that's how cults run. This isn't the first one. It's not going to be the last. It's a fucking cult. These people believe this shit. And it's not a small church. Just like Patriot Church and Global Vision Bible Church, they stream their services online. So, like, when we talk about churches now, we're not talking about this localized congregation. We're talking about people that have following across the U.S.
The online presence,
And so we'll have some of the most fucked up of the religious sect coming here.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Tennessee is just this year. Tennessee has just continued to proven more and more every time just how stupid they can get with. But I didn't. So just to circle back, I didn't expect Miss my rep to vote to approve that stupid shit. But Nick's not better. Nick's not better. So
no, Nick's far worse.
And that's what we have in Tennessee. The lesser of the fucking two. There's very few candidates that I think really can support those that voted for them. I think so. Seema
called me a while back, and we talked about some of the things about the left kind of abandoning her and the city council movement here in town divorcing her. Because if you look at any of the city council movement stuff, Seema hasn't been mentioned. And she's and I agree with this to some degree, where when you're dealing with these people like far right Republicans, you have to give them some stuff to get what you want. You budge on things that are harmless so that you can get the things that or prevent actual harm from happening. But this stadium isn't fucking it.
Huge harm.
Yes, the stadium is not one that she should have fucking budged on at all. And I will admit I haven't paid as close attention to what all she's been doing, but the stadium is not the first thing, apparently. There's been other things
yeah, but like
that
Dustin
she's
said, there's no one else to vote for because the people that are running against her are much, much worse.
Yeah,
they are.
And that's America.
Seema,
that's the America in the fucking nutshell.
Seema is one that if we put a lot more pressure on her, I think she would move.
Fall in line.
She would.
I don't know. She was. If you looked at the primary, she was comfortably ahead of Nick in the primary in terms of how many people voted, even though they kind of ran unopposed-ish. But when you see how many people voted for Seema versus Nick, she's seeing those numbers, and she's very positive about what's going to happen on this election.
Right. Well, it's probably the district she lives in is just more
it's
Democratic.
My district, so.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we can maybe hope on is that, I don't know if you guys, I know you guys saw this is the funniest thing. Trump tells Republicans not to vote in 2022 or 2024, and he did the same thing to Georgia, right? Because he'd lost the election, and so he'd lost the election, but claims he didn't, and he's so mad about the process. He told his voters to sit out of the Georgia election, and as a result, Georgia flipped 2 special Senate seats to Democrats to give them control of the Senate. He's doing the same thing this time because, I'm going to quote him here, "If we don't solve the presidential election fraud of 2020, which we have thoroughly and conclusively documented, Republicans will not be voting in 22 or 24. It's the single most important thing for Republicans to do." All this I think, is a threat to the GOP that if they're not supporting the big lie that he won the election, that he's out to destroy them. I think that's all this is.
I don't know. I just hope people follow his advice.
Yeah, but he's also going to advise them to get more and more violent.
Yeah, he will.
That's what this really means. That means do not hold elections to be something you can trust. Go and kill people. That's the real message. That's the subtext. You forgot to read the subtext.
I mean, I'm with Al that I hope they follow his advice. I hope they don't follow his other advice where they just start doing more January 6th shit.
There was some news show yesterday where they had a member that went to the January 6th insurrection, and he brought his flag that he brought to the insurrection, and they all gathered around and praised the flag that was at the insurrection.
Is this real?
Yes, this is real. No, I'm actually giving you a history report. That happened in the 40s. No, it did. It like the beer howl push. So it's another mirror of history of literally the same thing happening again.
Well, speaking of January 6th, right now they've issued out subpoenas. The White House has declined the executive privilege for Trump. And Steve Bannon, now, of course, Trump told, just like Trump has always fucking done, this was always pissed me off, is that he never really obeyed the rule of law and was protected by his seat as the presidency. No longer the office, he's still doing the same shit in which he's trying to get everyone involved with him or around him to not comply with the congressional subpoenas. He's done it his entire time that he was in office. But now they're done playing games, because before what pissed me off is they never really had teeth. They didn't go after and try to charge these people with criminal contempt. But the House has moved to set for this upcoming Tuesday. So after this episode drops Sunday, on the following Tuesday, the House will vote to hold Steve Bannon, who was not following the subpoena or providing the information that they're requesting, to be in contempt of Congress, which is a criminal charge. So
Good.
Fuck every one of these people who think that they can continue to hide under the protection of Trump by delaying the process. That's all he's been doing, is delaying court things. He's got 6
That's
pending
his only
lawsuits.
tactic. That's always been his tactic. His tactic from even when he was getting sued for fucking shit with his businesses. It was always to drag out the lawsuit for as long as possible until the other person runs out of money. But we're talking about fucking Congress.
Right.
That's not an option for him. So he didn't even know what the fuck to do. Because his usual tactic is not going to work the way it does.
His other usual tactic is to hope that his cronies, stay loyal to him and listen to him when he says don't provide with the subpoena. But I don't understand why they would put someone he's no longer in power now. He's an influential person to his supporters, but that doesn't do dick for Steve Bannon, who's not trying to run for anything. Why continue to put your the threat of being jailed or imprisoned for failing to comply with the subpoena? Why at this point? I don't understand. Unless he has something on Bannon. I think he may have he has something on everyone that has ever continued to work for him.
He absolutely does.
I think that's probably the case of why these people are so fucking loyal to ignore a fucking congressional subpoena. I mean, what kind of balls do you have to do that? But Steve Bannon's always kind of been a dick anyways.
Go ahead.
This is ACAB of the week.
So this week we have several ACAB segments to cover, a very large one and a few others that we kind of want to touch on. The first one that you shared and has now made its way throughout the state because it's very in-depth. This is from the ProRepublica. Black children were jailed for a crime that doesn't exist, and almost nothing happened to the adults in charge. And all this stems from mainly just one person, Judge Donna Davenport. And this is in Rutherford County. This is Middle Tennessee. This is the Murfreesboro area. So essentially how this went down was there was a school fight. And there were two boys that were fighting. And there was a video of it that was released that was heavily filtered. You couldn't really see who was in it. But they decided to try to charge these children who were just standing by, who were just there as they weren't part of the fight. They just didn't try to stop it. And so this judge in this area has a high percentage of jailing children, holding them at a much higher rate. The state average was 5%. In Rutherford County, it's 48%.
It's fucking insane.
It's a large number. So this judge signed this order to send the police officers to the school, where they met the principal, who had no idea what was going on, and rather than getting these children at their homes for a bullshit charge, anyways.
Yeah, because it's not a failure to intervene in a fight, which isn't even a fucking crime in Tennessee.
So they didn't know what to charge them with, and so they went through their computers, through the law, to try to find something to charge them with that would work. And the thing they came up with was called criminal responsibility, which isn't
Is that
a
what
charge.
the people in Seinfeld finale got charged with?
I didn't see it. I'm not sure.
That was a good joke. 'Cause no one in this room caught it, but it was a good joke.
Well, there are some listeners who will get that, but it's a really sad situation. They arrested young children, and some were put in handcuffs, and some were jailed
For not intervening in something.
for not intervening.
Yeah, that's the end of Seinfeld.
That's That's what just sparked this investigation, though, because this judge is kind of like, not only can she determine not only the sentence, but the facts of the case as well.
The Seinfeld episode was about the Good Samaritan law, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but they didn't intervene.
Yeah, but that was like with dealing with, was it, because the Good Samaritan law is like about, well, no, it is. It's intervening in a crime. Like, I think someone was being robbed or something.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Someone did get it.
So basically, this Judge Davenport just kind of issued charging papers saying it is so ordered. These police showed up there, arrested these children with no real crime.
Children. They're young, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it's, if I'm remembering correctly from reading it, they were elementary age.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Somewhere. I think it was like 10 to 12.
They want just a bunch of elementary kids to like
That's
swarm
elementary
the
age.
person.
I mean, 6th grade is 11, 12, I believe. So if they're 10 to 12, that could still be 4th to 6th grade.
I'm going to read a segment here from this article that really kind of lays out the bullshit that really occurs from this Davenport, because she had so much power because of how Tennessee is fucking stupid and how they're structured. It gives her a wide discretion. So let me read this. This is from ProPublica. The following year, Rutherford County violated federal law 191 times by keeping kids locked up too long, according to a story later published by the Tennessean. By law, children held for such minor acts as truancy were to appear before a judge within 24 hours and be released no more than a day after that. The newspaper interviewed Davenport, who estimated half of those violations occurred because a kid had cursed her or someone else. For cursing, she said, she typically sentenced kids to 2 to 10 days in jail.
Jesus Christ.
In response, she says, was I in violation? Heck yes, but am I going to allow a children to cuss anyone out? Heck no.
So she blatantly...
She fucking knew that
I like
she
how
was
the most
violating.
evil fucking people in the world think they're being good people by muting their cursing. Like, this
But
bitch cunt
wait,
can
is
go
she still
fuck
a judge?
herself there.
She's still a
'Cause
judge.
MTSU...
Because she was teaching there.
They cut ties with her, but she's still a fucking judge.
She's still a juvenile court judge in Rutherford County. Everyone that was in play during this whole incident in 2016, where this large expose came from, so that's what sparked this investigation, was that one incident. But what we've learned, what ProPublica rather, and their investigation learned, is even worse than that. So of the incident, so 10 children were charged in that case, all black, 4 were girls and 6 were boys. Every girl was released. Of the boys, 4 were jailed, according to the court records. Now those 4 boys became small part of a big group. In the fiscal year that encompassed April of 2016, Rutherford County jailed 986 children for a total of 7,932 days. Further down this report, as this gets worse, is that's just 1 year. They estimate over 1,500 kids were jailed with no actual crime in Rutherford County by their processes and this Judge Davenport. They actually had a report where they hired a firm to do some consulting, and they told them to like cut it back, reduce the amount of beds in your cells or in the facility. They ended up going with another company. They got rid of that one and increased the size to 65 beds. Like they kicked apart just because they knew how fucked up they were and how many kids they hold at once. They didn't tone it down. They hold way more kids. I mean, some of these are under, I think, as young as 10 years old was the youngest, which is not an outlier. The largest group was between 12 and 14 years old.
So the NAACP is involved in this, correct?
So a lot of groups became involved after ProPublica issued this article this past Friday.
Well, I think what sparked the original investigation, that incident, I believe NAACP was involved in that case because they won. So I believe the parties involved in the kids that got arrested for not reporting or intervening in the fight, they sued for, it was a civil rights violation, I believe. I'm not sure if Dustin's fact-checking me here or not, but...
I'm looking at something much worse that I'm going to read after here.
But I believe they sued for a civil rights violation. I believe that's why the NAACP got involved, or when they got involved. And they won that lawsuit. That's what sparked the ProPublica investigation and everything. But it was like was it 1.1 or 11 million?
It was the settlement?
Yeah.
11 million, I think.
11 million settlement on it. So it's not, I mean, like, the fucking Rutherford County's already admitted guilt if they did a settlement.
Yeah.
That much.
But that was that incident.
Yes,
incident.
that sparked the investigation that revealed
what we
so
don't
much
know,
more.
and here's why we don't know. So Tennessee's Administrative Office of the Courts collects crucial data statewide. And this is going back. In 2004, the consultant hired by Rutherford County used that data to sound an alarm. Rutherford County was locking up kids more than 3 times the state average. But then Rutherford County stopped reporting this data. From 2005 to 2009, the county had 11,797 cases of children being referred to juvenile court. Now, how many of those were locked up?
We don't know.
We don't know. Because the county claimed to have no idea, unknown. It reported in for 90% of the cases. The county's data is now meaningless and couldn't be used against it. They weren't reporting how long they were locking these children up for, because we have this judge who would just, you cursed, Gratz, you're in jail for 10 days now. Some of these children in solitary confinement. Solitary confinement.
These are kids. We're not talking about adults at all. This is all juvenile court.
For crimes, by the way, that you couldn't charge me for. You can't charge me for truancy, for cursing, for anything, for all these crimes. And I'm massive air quotes here. They could not be tried for these. These are not adult charges, and yet it's just in 1 year, 8,000 days roughly for children being held, and a lot of them disproportionately black. In this case, all of them were, and that one incident for crimes that aren't fucking real. And it's because this Davenport is on a fucking power trip. And the system is fucking broken.
Y'all, she's still a judge. She still has her role.
Yeah, she's still being paid
as a judge.
She's
still a juvenile judge. She still has this ability to throw kids in jail and keep them there beyond what's legal in Tennessee for stupid shit like cussing.
Wait a second. Are you trying to say that Tennessee's racist?
No, Sam.
I would never say such a thing. Tennessee's so fucking racist.
That is going through where they don't want to teach black history to kids.
Critical
race theory that's not even being taught in any K through 12 school anywhere across the fucking U.S.
Yeah, it's just
history.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, she's still been paying her salary of $176,000.
$176,000 a year. She makes on paper. Just on paper.
That is pure evil. This woman should be murdered in the streets with a guillotine, hypothetically.
This is like, when you hypothetically talk about someone like getting the wall, this is the person that deserves the
when
fucking
they should
wall.
hypothetically be drug into the streets and lynched, then this is the person.
So, this is a very, very long article.
Ironically, murder her.
Because there's a lot of shit to go into, a lot of interviews they did, a lot of people they talked to.
ProPublica does not play around with their investigative reporting at all. They are very in depth.
No, they had to use interviews and footage because obviously Judge Davenport refused to comment and refused to give them an interview, and rightfully, of course, why would you after you've been investigated for just destroying the lives of countless children, thousands of children, because these kids are never going to fucking grow up properly. A lot of these are that's the mental abuse. Well,
here's the thing: our criminal justice system is not designed to rehabilitate.
It's designed to make money for rich people.
They're
evil. They're literally evil, and you should hypothetically murder them in the streets.
So when you get young kids and you throw them in jail, at that point in time, whether they deserve to be there or not, their likelihood of being back in that system
the revolving door system is on purpose.
It's like the repeat offense for a child that goes into that system.
I mean, this is another reason why
it's
we
probably
say cops
planned.
are all bastards, because they're a part of this system. Cops' main purpose is to fuel the money-making system for the people that own these. By the way, did you know Tennessee is one of the most profitable states for making money on the jail system? Like, we literally are the worst fucking place in the fucking world. Like, the most evil fucking people run this place.
To what you were saying earlier, to your credit, and ProPublica broke this very long investigative journalism into chapters. Chapter 5 is titled, "They're Not Coming Out Better Than They Went In." They're fucking these children up and leading directly. They have documented cases of children following exactly that path you just kind of laid out. So I highly recommend people do this.
Because you can put a good kid. You take a kid who's never been in really any real trouble, and they're trying to do right with their fucking life as a kid, because I'm guessing a lot of these kids that were put in these situations were probably from homes that deal with poverty. And you take a kid that's trying their best to overcome everything, I got to work hard in school or something like that, and then they just don't report a crime, end up going to jail. You have a young kid. Keep this in mind. What message is that sending to that kid? That there's nothing you can do to escape it. You're telling that kid, you're destined to be here, so you might as well just go ahead and join them.
Again,
and these kids are meeting people that are actual criminals, that are they're learning at that point. Okay, I could sell drugs. I could do this, like that.
I mean, they can't get a normal job either. They get out, they have to say that you're a criminal. The system is the revolving door system is made on purpose. That's one of those, I say it all the fucking time, the system isn't broken, it's working as intended, and that is the intent of...
She found the exploit. She figured out how to exploit the system, and she got in a position to severely exploit it, and she's still sitting in that goddamn fucking position.
Let me... to your point,
her address will be in the thing if you want to...
So I want to read this because it kind of lays out exactly what you're saying. The lawyers cited research on how arresting and detaining kids hurts not only the children but society. Kids who have been arrested and jailed are more likely to commit crimes in the future. They're more likely to struggle in school and to struggle with drugs and alcohol. Detention makes mentally ill youth worse, and it makes kids more likely to hurt themselves. But it wasn't so much as detention, and I'm going to say it again, they put these fuckers, some of these, in solitary confinement. And these kids some of them are, 14, 15, and they're giving them, here, do this math. The schoolwork you have is do 5 times 5, 7 times 7. These are not age-appropriate schoolwork they're giving these children that are being jailed. They're depriving them of education. They're depriving them of, other human beings. I mean, can you imagine trying to grow up? You're a fucking teen going through adolescence, and you're being in a room confined to yourself for 23 hours a day. 23 hours a day.
These are kids that probably could have, some of them could have broken out of the poverty cycle. They may have had hope for the future, and this goddamn fucking judge just ripped everything away from them. Every fucking thing.
Oh yeah.
And the
fact that
fucked up.
And 1,500 of those estimated are wrongfully charged because they used a filter system. Because why not? Because the system was so broken there, and I can't imagine. I'm a child going and just sitting in a room for 23 hours with. I have anxiety. I have other children have mental issues.
30 minutes from where I grew up.
Is it?
This was me and my friends in high school would go to parties in Murfreesboro. This is Murphy's, but this is right fucking down the street. We didn't know it was fucking happening. And the thing is Murfreesboro is I grew up in the smaller towns. Murfreesboro is not really it's smaller than Knoxville, but it's a decent sized town. It's not people who grew up there probably had no clue this shit was happening.
They honestly didn't. They really didn't until that major incident in 2016 kind of sparked everything.
But this goes back as like when did she get her seat?
You know what's funny is that she's. You guys, I don't know if you know My Cousin Vinny very well, but
Of course I know a movie. You mentioned a movie. I know it.
okay. So in My Cousin Vinny, he's talking about he's like, well, I didn't pass the bar the first time. He's like, it's okay, you studied and passed it the second time. He's like, nope. And he's like, well, third time's a charm. He's like, nope, not for me. It wasn't. For me, it was five. I think he said
Thanks for
5
trying
times.
to emulate his accent.
Right, I was trying to. Listen, this is what I do. So for him, it was 5 times a charm. Yeah, she had to take the bar 5 times as well. Mm-hmm. So she's she failed it several times. She's not a very talented attorney, so she kind of misled on her resume on a few things.
But when did she get her seat?
That it's in this article, but it's a very long article. I don't have that. I won't have the beautiful.
Since she was elected in
she
2000.
was elected by the majority of racist-ass voters in Murfreesboro. I think she is probably doing her job like they wanted her to, actually.
She is the county's only juvenile judge.
Yes.
I think
elected in 2000. She has been in that seat for 21
So anyways,
fucking
this is the
years.
problem with democracy.
21 fucking years she's been doing this.
Because I think that she is serving the public. They voted for her for a reason. Because most people in Murfreesboro, which has a KKK group in...
It does.
It does. Like, Murfreesboro is racist as fuck, and the racist as fuck pieces of shit
Tennessee.
elect, guess what? Racist as fuck pieces of shit.
Could you imagine being in any other position and admitting that you have violated federal law 191 fucking times and still get to keep your fucking position?
They want someone like that.
There's an impeachment process for this, and no one's fucking doing it.
Because the average asshole in Murfreesboro agrees with this bitch. She is representing her county the way they want her to. The problem is deeper than one person in power. The problem is most people in Murfreesboro should probably shoot themselves in the face, ironically.
Okay. So when you think about those numbers that you gave earlier and the fact that these kids are black, correct?
No, I mean, not all of them.
Not all of them?
No,
Okay.
not all of these. But the 2016 incident, they all were.
Okay, but so...
I had these people deal with me in middle school. Like, I had fucking bitches trying to kick me out of high school because I was the kid that wore a black t-shirt every fucking day. And they're like, there's the kid, I'm going to ruin his fucking life.
What you're talking about, the 2016 incident where they literally went to a school to arrest people that they couldn't even identify on the video, on a grainy, filtered video, went off, tried to go off voices alone and interviewing other kids, to handcuff and arrest 10, 12-year-olds and 14-year-olds. Those were all black, and 4 of them boys were jailed.
I wonder if that article gives the demographics of what race. Well, they didn't keep track of those.
No, they didn't keep track of a lot of information.
Okay, so Rutherford County has a population of 341,000 people, and the demographics are it's 69.9% white, non-Hispanic, 15% black, 5.7% or 78% Hispanic, 3.42% Asian, and other.
That's kind of like a normal populated area, honestly, in terms of...
In Tennessee.
In Tennessee, yeah, I think you're right.
Well, I mean, I'm not so sure that matches with like Knoxville and Nashville. It probably and Memphis, of course.
But there's in terms of demographics, they didn't keep a whole lot of records in terms of who they jailed, who they held, but they illegally jailed children for crimes that don't exist. They violated federal law to do so, and they put them in some of these in solitary confinement. And I don't know how much more of a garbage fucking human being you have to be to imprison a child for 10 days for cursing or for swearing. What kind of a garbage human being do you think that's an okay thing to do? It's a power tripping fucking person who, because she knows she's the only one that has the authority.
I guarantee you the vast majority of these were children of color. I'm willing to put money on the fact that the vast majority, not 60%, way more than that. I bet at least 80% of the kids
that were wrongfully or that were jailed longer because of her whim. Because she not only got
the
to
ones
choose
jailed. Period. The ones jailed. Period. 80%.
Because the power she had just not only to settle the sentence, but also she was her own jury.
Yep.
There was no jury. She got to decide. She has way too much power, and as the only judge, this is why we have this problem, because the system that Tennessee has put in place, especially in the area, and the commissioners there too, they have this weird system as well that kind of gives them too much power. So it needs a complete fucking overhaul. It's fucking the system may be working as intended, but it's obviously fucking broken.
I wonder
Burn
what's
it
going
down,
on. I haven't
ironically.
heard anything about
Not literally. I just mean through legal means. Burn
in
it down.
Minecraft.
I mean, burn it down with voting for elected officials who will actually change things. Which, by the way, we're talking about. It doesn't matter who you vote for.
I actually have not
fucking
heard
boners.
anything from protests kicking off in that area. And if there were any, I think I would hear about it.
It's probably because a lot of it's in the fucking background. This 2016 thing came to light because they showed up in
there
school.
should still be protests in the street to get her the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Now that it's come to
They
light,
don't have enough
why
people
the fuck?
in the city. It's a city full of fucking racists. You know that very well. There's not enough people there that actually give a shit.
Fucking half the town is college students.
College students,
But even if they're definitely white and racist, but with that many college students, hell, half of our fucking protests here in Knoxville are filled with college students.
So
I'm surprised more isn't that there's nothing happening.
ProRepublica issued an update just yesterday. We record Thursdays. In the days after our initial investigation of the juvenile injustice system at Rutherford County, one state lawmaker wrote that she was horrified, another called it a nightmare. A third labeled it unchecked barbarism. A former Tennessee congressman posted the story about the unlawful jailing of kids and tweeted, "The most sickening and un-American thing I've ever read in some time." And the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund called for a federal civil rights investigation. And on Tuesday evening, 4 days after the story was published, the president of MTSU notified the faculty and staff that Davenport is no longer affiliated with the university. She had been an adjunct professor in 2015, I think, or for some years. But they cut ties, but she's still fucking holding her position and being paid her handsome fucking salary to jail children for crimes that aren't
It's
real.
absolutely disgusting. Disgusting. I kind of wish she had a grave I could spit on.
she has a face that you can spit on. But you'd probably get arrested, so you have to be more stealthy. And hang
Al
up
wears
on
a
the street.
mask. You'd pull it down just to spit on her.
I would. What? No, her grave. Her
Right,
grave.
well,
You don't have to murder her, people. I'm sure she's not vaccinated. Just go up there and cough on her after walking through a COVID ward. What church she go to? Let's just go walk through a COVID ward and then hug everyone in their church.
I'm really hoping a lot of this picks up steam after the article was published to get this bitch out of her seat, so that, I don't know, maybe kids can lead normal lives and not be jailed for cursing or truancy.
Oh my God, I would have stayed in jail as a kid if I were jailed for cussing, because
I mean, but imagine the damage, because it's a developing mind, and a lot of kids, especially probably throughout all time, but
this
kids have mental
literally
issues.
will destroy a child's life.
Yeah,
literally, it is abuse. It is fucking abuse.
And unchecked. It was completely unchecked. And the sheer stats, it's a very long article. I'm going to post it on the show notes. It's a very long read, but it's broken into chapters, so you can, go through it as you wish. But
I'm glad
I think
Dustin got to read all 6 chapters, because I wanted to read it. I was really invested in it, but when I found it, I got to read one chapter of it. I'm like, oh, I'll come back to this, and I didn't get to go back to it.
Once I started, I was like, this bitch. How deep does this shit go? And
I found it while working, so I couldn't I sat there for as long as I can to finish till I got to a good breaking point, and then I had to, and then I just fucking
I actually got I got to do the whole thing uninterrupted, and it was just so detailed, so in depth. But it is a very long read, but it just kept getting worse and worse, and the stats are buried within it. So it's kind of tough to pull up on the fly when I'm trying to reference, because I should have made notes, but I didn't have time to do that today. But it was very detailed. I do encourage anyone who is interested in the story to either go to ProRepublica and Google it, or again, it will be linked in the show notes. Unfortunately, that's not our only ACAB of the week segment. We have a few others to cover because they were just nonstop this week. We could have almost filled an entire episode if it wasn't so much the same shit every week sort of situation. So this one comes out of Long Beach, where a school cop, a school resource officer, fatally shot an 18-year-old mother in the head as she fled a fight in her car. Her name was Manuela Rodriguez. She was involved in an altercation with a 15-year-old. The details of the fight aren't really known, but what we do know is that the officer came up, Officer Eddie Gonzalez, kind of broke up the fight. They separated. Ms. Rodriguez got into a vehicle as a passenger, and that vehicle was, I guess, getting away. He fired two shots into the vehicle, one of them striking her in the head. Also in the vehicle was a 5-month-old, her child. The father of her child was 20 years old, the driver of the vehicle, I believe, and then her 16-year-old brother. So she was struck, died on the scene. The only redeeming thing about this is that he was immediately terminated, and they are investigating this as a homicide. But how many times have we seen...
This is a school resource officer. And the school resource officer did this.
I mean, it's a precedent, like, where... We've talked about this before. There's how many ACAB segments have we seen? So many officers just get pissed off that someone's trying to run away, that they think that lethal force is authorized, that they think that the act of them escaping or leaving the scene of a crime is a death fucking sentence.
At that point in time, like, he could have gotten the license plate number and found them at their home later. No one had to die in that situation.
You see, cops, like, there must be something where if you let someone get away, you get penalized. Maybe they get beaten or something. They feel like they can't let someone go. Oh, no, I let them go. I need them now. So they feel like murder's okay. Like, maybe they lose their score. Maybe they have, like, a score. And if they lose one, they'll
that must be it.
They're going to break their combo on arrests. If
maybe they'll just be made fun of by their coworkers of, haha, he got away from you. And, because, I mean, these are bullies. You can imagine they bully each other.
Well, and I want to circle back because I know I said this is being investigated. He hasn't been charged yet with the homicide. I know that he's no longer employed with them, but he hasn't been charged. But there's a well-established policies within that school district bar resource officers from firing at moving vehicles. And so the fact that he did that will probably most likely mean that a charge is coming. But aside from that, there's a federal a precedent at the federal level known as the fleeing felon rule. A police officer can only use deadly force. I say can because they get away with it all the fucking time. This is one of the few cases I've seen where they actually charge someone because all they do is make some bullshit argument that they tried to hit one of the officers or anything like, which we've seen countless times. But
that's how my cousin got shot by cops.
Because they claim he was trying to ram them, or
she was a passenger in a car, and this was California Highway Patrol. He did run from the cops. He crashed into a fence, and then I guess he was backing up, and at that point they can claim he was trying to ram the vehicle. They fired a shitload of fucking rounds into the car, shot my cousin 3 times, I believe. Once in the neck, twice in the through the back. One of them hit her lungs. She still has lung issues today, of course, from this. She lived, but the driver died. And she was just a passenger. She couldn't get out of the fucking car.
And of course, I can almost guarantee that those police that those actions
they got away.
Deemed,
nothing happened.
They were deemed appropriate.
Yeah, there were no consequences for that.
So let me just finish the precedent. A police officer can only use, or what they're supposed to, deadly force to prevent the escape of a fleeing suspect if the officer has a good faith, and fuck off with that, good faith belief that the person fleeing poses significant threat or serious physical injury to officers or others. And this is from a 1985 Supreme Court case. But they can skirt that so many fucking times because they're the ones that get to determine they get to make that good faith call. And when a lot of times there's no other video evidence, it's what they say goes. And they're legally allowed to fucking murder people on the street. And now there's a 5-month-old baby without a mother because the officers couldn't fucking just wait to track down this mother to charge her with what? I mean, fleeing is one, but I'm not, maybe assault, simple assault.
Well, she was 18 years old, and the girl she was in a fight with was 15 years old. That's an adult assaulting a minor.
That's
period.
probably months.
But
as an 18-year-old.
That still is not a death sentence.
No, it's not.
Yes, he could have charged her with a crime, but she was still in high school. He could have gone to school in the high school that he probably was the SRO at. Most likely, he could have gotten them to, he could have pulled up her info at the school. There were so many things he could have done other than that.
Right.
But he killed her.
Right. And so now, of course, young mother is dead, and a 5-month-old is going to grow up hating the fucking police because their mother was taken from them. But we see this a lot, and it's just fucking disgusting. Unfortunately, we're not done. We have one more.
All right. This one is in Dayton, Ohio. And it involves a man named Clifford Owensby. He's 39. He's a paraplegic. So he gets pulled over after leaving a house that the cops are kind of watching. They suspect drug dealing coming out of that. So they pull him over, and they order him out of the car, and he's telling them, like, dude, I'm paraplegic. I can't just get out of the car.
Is real quick, just a quick question. Is that sufficient evidence to suspect that someone leaving a home
it's not. No, it's not. That's profiling, and that's one of the things he's suing them for.
Okay, sorry, proceed.
They order him out of the car and everything. He keeps saying he can't. He calls somebody to come and witness what's going on. And after that, before somebody could get there to witness it, a cop pulls him out of the car by his fucking hair.
That's right, I did read
that.
I
By
saw
his
the video
hair.
too.
They dragged a man who cannot fucking move his legs across the fucking pavement. He's a paraplegic.
He told them several times,
yes.
Yo, I can't get out of this vehicle. It's infuriating because... they have no patience. Every time I see a cop who loses their fucking cool is because they can't stand not having the ultimate authority and having every single fucking one of their orders obeyed. And when someone tells them fucking no, they lose their shit.
This cop's like, you know how many times a day I hear that excuse? It's always made up.
Right. So Owen's accusing the Dayton Police Department of unlawful arrest, illegal search and seizure, profiling, and failure to read him his rights before taking him into custody.
Oh, they didn't Mirandize him?
No, and so he's filed a complaint. I don't know if there's a lawsuit yet, but he has filed a complaint with the Dayton NAACP chapter. So there's likely going to be a lawsuit. Because, they have the body cam footage, and that's clearly, fucked up. He told them multiple times, I can't get out of my vehicle.
He told them he was paraplegic.
Yeah. And they dragged him out by his hair.
Because producer said it's a fucking tantrum. When they get told, when they're every single order, in which these guys never give sound orders in the first place.
No.
Seldomly. They're screaming erratically because their adrenaline pumping. They're always, they're always afraid that person has a gun because that's how they train police officers. But the moment they're told fucking no, they lose their shit, and that's why we had locally here in Knox County, there was a guy who got the shit kicked out of him for being in altercation with police. He got the shit kicked out of him. I bet that not a single thing is going to come from that.
It was Knox County sheriffs. Of course, they had a quick because his mugshot got published. And you could see this motherfucker got beat up. His eye underneath, it looks like it's been scraped against the ground. It's all black. It looks like it has ointment on it, but it's all swollen. And of course, they quickly had they accused him of going into reaching for his waistband, and they thought he had a gun. And they say in the article that they had to take a few swings at him.
Oh, is that how you grab someone's arm to get them from doing anything? You beat the shit out of their face?
Yeah.
None of that makes sense to me. What probably happens is once they had him in subdued, you see him kick. We see them kick them, hit them, elbows to them. They push their face to the ground and put their knees on them.
Yep.
I mean, it's all these actions because they're on fucking power trips, and it's also that you hit me, we're gonna kick the fuck out of you.
KPD this week also shot a man.
Shot and killed a man.
Yes.
Murderers.
I don't want to talk too much on that because there's a lot of unknowns.
There's a lot of that's right. It's a lot of unknowns on this one.
It was pretty much their SWAT team was serving a warrant on what was supposed to be a drug house. There's reports that he was paralyzed. What we know is there was an exchange of gunfire. I have seen some reports that said he fired first. Other reports just say exchange of gunfire. He's dead. No other officer is dead or injured or anything like that. He's dead.
It's still kind of new information. Obviously, we don't have any.
We everything right now is completely rumors, and there's a lot of things that don't make sense about this. So it's nothing we need to
Knox
go
County is
into.
pretty used to their officers getting off for just murdering people.
Yeah, but
they probably murder more people than you know. They just lie about.
Was this
shit
KPD
all
or
the
Knox
time.
County?
This is KPD, but here's the thing
Both are pieces of
with
shit.
many of these cases, and I do want to see the body cam footage. I do. This one is not like the others. Like with Ant, we were real quick to tell the opposite sides or like the different stories that we were hearing. This one's a little bit different because there's nothing makes sense. And to go through all the details that we're hearing is just fucking too much right now.
And it's also very few details that we're even getting at this point. So we'll probably retouch on that if we get anything else on it. But it's been a shitty. I mean, it's a lot of bad news with the cop and, of course, the Davenport thing this week. Again, this one of the lengthier ACAB segments we've had in a long time.
One of those ACABs all week long.
Pretty much. And don't know what's going to happen next week, but I'm sure we'll see some more. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap us up for episode 36 of Apostates on the Fringe. Thank you guys again for joining us this week. As always, you can check us out on social media. Please continue to share out the show everywhere you can. Leave us a 5-star review. For links to the articles and that massive ProRepublica article detailing the events of that shitty judge, you can go, or to contact the show, visit us at apostatepod.com. It's also available on your podcast players. If you view the details, the show notes are included in there, and the links and articles work on that.
We're on Facebook, too.
We're on Facebook. The articles don't... I coded this to work beautifully on a lot of podcast players. It works great on Apple Podcasts, Amazon's, we're on Audible now. For whatever reason, Spotify and Facebook, when it shows up our podcast, it reads our show notes, but it does not like my links like every other thing does. It just reads it as plain text. And so you won't be able to view that.
Copy paste.
So you won't be able to, no, you won't be able to, because it's just how it just, because it hides the link. It just shows, you'll just see the title of the article.
You got to Google.
Your traditional podcast players, you should be able to just click the article and it'll load it quickly. Or again, you can visit our website, apostatepod.com, to get those. But anyways, we will see you all next week.
Murder racists, ironically.
Hey, fuck Judge Davenport with like the biggest cactus you can find. Ironically.
Just get that bitch out of office. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, do that.
Thank you all very much.
Apostates on the Fringe. Apostates on the Fringe.
The views and opinions of the hosts of Apostates on the Fringe do not represent the views and opinions of the Atheist Society of Knoxville. For links to all our musical contributors, go to apostatepod.com and check the About Us page. A big thank you to Michael Scott Arden, who allows the show to use his full catalog.